And welcome to the Wikid Publishing Podcast, the Wikid Weekend Podcast, number 52. I'm your host for the evening, Matt. No, I'm Matt. I'm not Matt. I'm I'm Michael from Wikid Publishing, and also joined by fellow co-host for the evening, Matt. How's it going?
How we doing, everybody? I'm actually Matt.
Hey, you pulled a truck!
Yes, really. Seriously.
And for the record, I'm Michael.
And he needs to be serious. He's not joking. His name is Michael.
You literally pulled a truck because, when I first met you guys, that's what I used to do. I always used to get you guys screwed up all the time.
Yeah, man, I remember that. Yeah, that's so true. That's hilarious. Yeah, I believe you used to call me Matt sometimes.
Yep. Yep.
Which is hilarious. And then, of course, we have Chuck with us as well. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. Kind of glad to be alive. I know. Yeah, I know a lot of people may not have known that I was actually in the hospital for a week. For a couple of days, I was actually near death.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. Well, it started.
You're still with us, man. That you're doing better. Starting on the healing process there. That's really good to hear.
I truly believe I'm blessed. Had a lot of people out there praying for me, and so I guess God's not done with me.
That's awesome, dude. Yes, very good. Well, thank you for joining us, especially with you healing and all. I appreciate you taking time to join us and talk with us a little bit. And yeah, it's just been a minute, like with everything going on. Even before that, I know it's been a minute. You've been pretty busy with life in general.
Yeah, unfortunately, work has me. I'm actually on my break right now, so which is why I'm good. Yeah, which is good. No, that's fine. It was just fine. But I wanted to pop in and give everybody an update and stuff like that. Everybody who follows Wikid and us. So
why don't you go ahead and give us some of your updates that you got going on, man?
Yeah, so basically, we finally, I believe, we crossed the finish line. I know we got the final. You guys got the final prints in, and we're getting ready to pull the trigger on printing. So I know that's pretty much going to happen right away. So which is good. Let me tell you, I know Eric and I are both ready to put Japan behind us. as much as we love Ghost of Japan as a comic, we're just ready, working on it for 2 years. 120 pages is a lot of work. People don't realize. A lot of people don't realize. We had all the artwork done, but we had to go back and reletter everything. We had to get it colorized, and then and I know you guys know that the trade and it's not just a simple process as making floppies. It's a lot more that goes into it. So they're just a lot of work. So at this point, I'm just glad. I know we had promised it like a year and a half ago, but with COVID hitting, and then of course with the last month of my health being the way it was, we kind of threw things in the way. So, and I know we had an issue with originally we're going with a different printer, and those things. Oh, yeah. So we actually had a lot of obstacles to get things done. But anyhow, in terms of that, I know we have a lot of our backers. The tweet I put out the other night, they're excited. That we're almost done. So, this is actually wave 2. We actually have a lot of our backers already done. This is actually wave 2 for the backers. This is for the people that got the trade and the floppy. So, luckily, somebody was gracious enough to step in and help us out, which, by the way, whoever that was, I have to thank you. And God bless you. That was much needed. I did not expect it. I know, Mike. When you messaged me about that, I was like, right away. I turned around and told Eric, I'm like, dude, somebody just helped us out big time. I'm like, he's like, oh my God, that's awesome. So.
For those who don't know, there was an anonymous donor who donated a substantial portion to help get the printing finished, and it was really, really great. We're all grateful on all sides, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I did not expect it. And I do also want to give a shout out to Jeremy Lott. When he found out I was in the hospital, he actually also helped me out big time.
Really?
Yeah, he did. It was something I was not expecting, and he actually stepped up, and I was like surprised and blessed. Let's just say. But
that's really nice, man. That's really nice.
Now, in terms of that, once we're done with that, we actually have, just in terms of what other updates, so we actually have the script for Natsumi Spearhead written out. That is actually going to be, 100%. Yep, that's actually going to be a collaboration between us and Brian's artist from Rags, Luigi. Yes.
Wow, that's going to be cool.
So right now we're waiting on. We got with Luigi, he's got a lot of work going on, so we got to wait till he can fit us into his schedule. But we got that written out completely. On the high seas, we pretty much that is about 97% done. What we got to basically do is figure out how we're going to break it down into 3 issues. If we're going to break it down into 2 issues, 3 issues, because unfortunately, when you're doing, we don't write small. we write grand adventures. Originally Japan was supposed to be 2 issues, ended up being 3 issues with all the action. And I even talked to Eric. I'm like, look, maybe what we ought to do is, originally we were going to do, another trade. And I'm like, no. Just based on how we did with the Japan trade, I said we kind of need to break it down into individual issues for right now, and then come back and do the trade.
Nice.
So we're gonna do that. A lot easier on the budget. It's a lot easier on. I told him. I said doing 120 pages for lettering is a lot of work.
Yeah. I gotta say we're doing we're putting out a trade next month, and I can't imagine having done all 136 pages of that in one sitting.
Yeah,
and that's crazy.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even I had to hire a letterer eventually because it's a lot of work. People don't really necessarily they underestimate it. How much work that is.
It is. And I actually I'm in a couple of Facebook groups with comic creations, and one of the biggest things I really stress to people is a lot of people are like, "Hey, I can do lettering." I'm like, no, listen to me. Lettering, I said, I've done 4 issues. Plus, I also, I don't know if a lot of people heard, I'm actually also doing lettering for Purity Sin. She's got a comic coming out called Chaotic Stories Issue 2. So she brought me on as a letterer there. So that's going to be my 5th comic I'm going to be lettering. It's a lot of work. It is not an easy thing to do at all. And I really stress to people, I'm like, if you can afford it, do it. It's the cheapest position out of every position that you work with. Get a letterer. And an editor. Those are the 2 biggest things I always recommend to people. A letterer and an editor. Now if you have a person who can edit it, really good. So for instance, let's say Matt can be the editor for Mike. Well, okay, you're going to take yourself a position. But if you're in a situation where you're a single creator, you want to get that person who can letter for you and edit for you and stuff like that. While they're the cheapest, they're probably some of the most important, because a lot of people don't realize, and I'm sure every one of you guys can attest, bad lettering can ruin a comic. Great lettering can also help a comic 100%.
So true, yeah.
What else I noticed is that you really you can see good lettering in a lot of comics, but then when you see bad lettering, it shows you just how good and what goes into good lettering.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of people just think, oh, well, I can use Adobe Illustrator, slap it in, and make these word balloons. It's all about placement. It's all about, because with lettering, there's only so much room you have. So, you got to get that stuff into those areas. It's also picking the right font for the project, because not every font looks good.
And sound effects too. I know a lot of letters don't like this, but my guy, he lets me just put in, I just say gunshot or footsteps or something, and he'll actually put the onomatopoeia of it. Yeah. And I appreciate that, because I'm not as creative with that kind of stuff, and he has that kind of experience.
Well, and that's actually a big thing a lot of people don't realize. You might think, well, I don't have lettering in certain words. Let's say you don't have words in certain word balloons. Sometimes you can just put a sound effect in there, and it actually breaks up the person's reading. It helps with the flow of reading and stuff like that. So let's say you're opening a door, or you're doing something, just a clink or a clunk or something like that, like signaling you're opening the door, helps a person mentalize like you're reading a book, because one thing when you're writing a prose, you're describing everything out. Lettering almost, basically helps. I actually want to comment. Miss H just said, "Oh no, you're making me nervous. I have almost to do all my lettering left." No, honestly, if people really want to, I recommend just if you want to learn lettering. It's not hard to learn lettering. It's just a lot of work to make sure you're doing it right. So, Blambot. I don't know if you guys would recommend Blambot. I highly recommend them. They have great tutorials. They also have free fonts for everybody. And go there. And if you guys have it, even if you can't hire somebody, shoot me a DM. I can help you. Or somebody, another writer or somebody who does lettering. Shoot them a DM. They might be willing to give you tips and pointers. So, okay. But so that's where we're at right now. Also, the other thing too is we're going to Eric and I are going to be rebranding our YouTube page. We're going to be actually adding a few things, kind of doing what you guys were trying to do. I actually hope we can do stuff with you guys. We are looking to do like a couple other shows. That way, we want to do some scripted stuff, and we want to do some live stuff. That way, gets people more involved with what we're doing. And it's just not going to be about comics. It's going to be about fandom and everything. So.
Well, yeah, dude. Let us know, man. We'd love to get involved on that in some way. So, yeah, that's going to be cool.
Yeah, we have a podcast ourselves, and we totally support other indie podcasters. So shoot us a link or something over at Roman Revelations.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, dude, I'm excited to hear about that. And nobody should just see that the channel there. How you guys decide to rebrand that'll be cool.
Yeah, it's still going to be Sportman Studios, but it's going to be kind of branching out. Like, we're going to talk things from, action figures to comic books to manga, to almost anything, Like, we actually have one that's called My Big Stupid Opinion. and versus, like, Eric, one of the ideas is what it is, we're going to talk about the Emmerich version of Godzilla, and actually why Eric likes it, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about. The Roland Emmerich version of Godzilla. Oh, really? Yeah.
Roland Emmerich. Who's he again?
He did like Stargate.
He did the 2000 Godzilla.
Yeah, 1998 Godzilla.
Yeah. That's when I grew up on. So that was Godzilla.
So we're gonna do things like that. So like we're gonna have like different topics, and he's gonna also have he has a podcast with a friend of his called Kessel Run, basically where they talk about Star Wars action figures and Star Wars news and stuff like that. So we're gonna be kind of keeping that under the full umbrella. So we got a lot of good things we want to get done. We want to grow. We really want to grow. People backing us. We want to really get people on board. Keep making our networking and stuff like that, because that's all it's all about, networking. So
yeah, dude, that's great. Well, I'm glad to hear you guys are getting back in the swing of things, and with the comic wrapping up, you'll have time to start new projects and new ventures here. So that's really great.
Yep. And
yeah, speaking of which, just to kind of put a final point on the update, we're going to be starting the final printing here in just a moment. So all things considered, with the next couple weeks, we hopefully should be able to start fulfillment. So kind of exciting there.
Yeah, and I'm glad, because I know a lot of people, especially on the trade, they're excited. I know a lot of people, I know they got a couple questions, why did we ship some of the international backers? And I explained to people, with international shipping the way it is, we had to combine things, because, we actually had, the posters and the T-shirts, they were all done last year, but the problem is, and I know you know this, Mike, that international shipping is way expensive, and so we decided to kind of hold everything, to ship everything at once for some backers, but most of the U.S. backers have already been fulfilled, which is great. What we're doing at this point, like I said before, is it's just the people with the trade and the trade floppies that are getting their versions, and then we're gonna have at that point, we're gonna hopefully, I know we need to talk with you guys about putting it up for sale, I don't know when you guys plan on doing that. That's something I know we need to talk about there and stuff like that. So,
yeah, man, that'd be cool. Yeah, definitely. It'll be nice. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who didn't, get a chance to back that would love to get a chance to pick that up at the store there. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is now the downside is I will say for right now we are not going to have the trade available for people who did not back the campaign. That's going to be that was a Kickstarter only for right now. I know that's the decision we talked.
Trade paperback, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Just some floppies are going to be available at the store. Exactly. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and I know that was something we talked with you guys about, and you agreed. Are we going to offer the trade down the road? Possibly, yes. We're actually going to be doing some changes to the trade for the regular people. Which is something I know we got to talk with you guys about what we do and do not want to offer and stuff like that. So we got a lot of work on that end, But for right now, at least the floppies will be available. They'll be at they're still going to be cheaper than the trade, of course. So people, once that announcement goes out, get on board right away. I mean, that's the best way you can support us and Wikid is order the comics as soon as they go up for pre-order or available for sale.
Yeah, 100%. That's right. Yeah, so it's gonna be cool, man. It's gonna be very exciting to finally get to that. So, long journey that you've been on.
For sure, but it's been a fun one and stressful at times, But I think for me, and I know you guys have expressed it, it's one that a lot of learning challenges. We all learned something during.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
really. But it's crazy too to think about, like when this started out, we were still at the other printer, and like how those challenges that we had to overcome too with that and all. It's just been, like you said, it's been a whole, roller coaster of ups and downs, and but it's glad, it's good to get these out there. But you guys have been pretty good about updating the backers too. I feel like so.
I know. I really Brian Ball. For those who don't know, he really he was really the standard on Kickstarter and Indiegogos, and he really stressed you should be updating once a month, to all your backers. Where you're at and stuff like that. And I do apologize. Last month, I didn't get to update anybody because I was in the hospital. But anyhow, I've been trying at least once a month or every 5 or 6 weeks, updating people, letting people know where we're at. Because there's a lot of people who they spend their money and they don't hear anything from their Kickstarter. There's some Kickstarters that I backed that I barely I've heard anything on. And I don't want to be like that. That's why I wanted to keep our customers, because I want people to come back to us when the next issue comes out. I don't care if it's 6 months down the road or 2 years down the road that it takes for us to do it. I want that person to come back.
Yeah.
It's support us.
True, man. That's the way to do it. If you don't, then you're just risking people getting either fed up or just losing faith, essentially. So, I don't know. Hello? Oh, shoot, what's going on?
Hey.
Hello? Can you all hear me?
I might have lost him for a moment.
I thought I was losing my mind there for a second.
Hey, are you guys there?
Hey, man.
Yeah. Hello?
You lost me there. Yeah. Can you hear us, man? Oh, crap.
Probably a little bit.
Forward. Oh, my God. Hey! Yeah, I don't know. I think he might not be able to hear us for a moment there.
All right.
That's odd. But yeah, it'll be nice to have the Sporkman books out to the store and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be cool.
He just messaged us on the little private chat saying he's unable to hear us. But I let him know we can hear him. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the meantime, while we wait to get him back into the show here, I'm gonna try. Actually, let me try this here. And getting a lot of feedback on his mic.
I was hearing that too.
I was like we were in a wind tunnel.
I think it's mainly coming from his side. I'm not too sure.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's having some mic issues. It looks like it disconnected too. But anyway, we'll try to get him back in here and see if we can fix that. But But yeah, so yeah, do you guys have any updates on your comics? I know, Michael, we were working on getting the proofs out right now, and so those books, we can get those books out. But the digitals are out right now.
Right,
People can get those out, and so that's kind of cool.
I'm excited to get. I really like that we're getting. We got the 4 out this month, the 3 Omen comics and the 1 Revelation comic, right? But I like that next month we're doing 3 more Omen comics, which will put out the 6 Omen comics that we had before. And then we'll get that second Revelation comics out. But what I'm really excited about is the trade. Getting Omenverse Volume 1, Seeds of Tetrad Omega out. That is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is gonna be dope. That's the trade paperback version, right?
Yeah, that's that one. It's going to have Omen number 1, White Druid and Michael Nero number 1, Gallowsman number 1, and then Omen number 2.
Nice, man. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, the Omenverse is really kind of intended to be read all together. I mean, while you can read the individual titles, it's kind of intended to be like you get the whole story when you read them all together. And that's why I want to put out that Omenverse trade like that.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. For some reason, why my browser was acting weird. I couldn't hear you guys.
No worries, dude.
Sorry about that.
That's all good, man. It's all good. But yeah, we were just talking about the Omen comics. The new comics will be releasing very shortly here and whatnot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I know this is the first time I've been on with you guys. So, awesome to see more people getting their stuff out, which is great.
Yeah, dude. Very excited to see that. Yeah.
Really looking forward to Guardians of Aleum next month too, coming out on Indiegogo.
The Indiegogo should be pretty exciting, man. We'll be definitely rooting for you. We're gonna have a campaign countdown, all that good stuff. Yeah, it should be pretty awesome, man.
Lots of stuff happening next month. It should be pretty exciting.
Yes, very, very much so. And then I think we'll be fulfilling McKenna Chronicles soon for Matt Tran. That should be finishing up soon.
Woohoo!
Nice.
Yeah, I've been excited for McKinnon Chronicles. That's one that I can't wait for. I love that universe. It's going to be awesome to see because I know Matt's been hyping that up for a few years. So, and it's great. Yeah, and it's great that he's finally got to it. I know with him doing the mythics and stuff like that. So him finally getting
busy. Yeah. And, yeah, I think he's writing another 3rd comic now too, as well. I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. It's not Mythoverse related, and it's not through us either. It's like a 3rd thing he's doing.
I love the fact that people are doing all this stuff. This is what I'm saying. We might get all this blast from the pros and stuff like that, but I love seeing indie comics making, kind of stepping in and doing, while the big 2 or big 3 are struggling right now. You see so much from the indie crowd, from all walks of life, just really kind of stepping in and creating great stuff, and I love seeing it. And I mean, we were talking about this a few years ago, my best friend and I, Eric, and we were talking about because we kind of were in the indie movie scene too, and we're like, we saw it back then, and we're like, I really believe that it's going to be the future, that indie not just indie comics, but indie music, indie movies, indie games, they're really going to be the wave of the future, just because the fact of, I think people are struggling, people's dollars, people don't have a lot of money to spend on, so they're going to go after stuff that they're passionate about, and I think that's what's going to fuel a lot of what the future industry is going to be like. Not just comics. I'm talking everything. That's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I feel like it's easier now than ever before for an indie person to create their own comic.
Yeah.
With artists and.
Right. I mean, it is hard, and I will be honest with everybody. It's hard work. It is hard work, but the way I look at it, if I get 100 people that back my project or buy my comic, I'm satisfied because that's 100 people I've reached that I would not have reached if I didn't do it. That's the way I look at it. You know?
Yeah. No, that's very true, man. Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty.
I think this is definitely a labor of love that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know, like I know our other co-owner, he like was years ago. He's like, well, if it's not a business, I don't know how you want to make it sustainable. I'm like, well, you have to have the love for the stuff first, but you know. Yes, you have to have a business plan. You have to do all this stuff. I said, but if you don't have the passion to do it, why do it? You know. And he kind of ended up going his separate ways, but he's still like a co-owner of Sportman and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Eric and I make all the decisions on what we're doing and stuff like that.
The day-to-day operations.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll tell you, being the fact that, you know, I'll say that, you know, since 2017 and the shifting comics, for us, I think it's been great because we've had a lot more reach. You know, it's kind of hard because we did a lot of, you know, when we've been doing this for 13 years, you know, all our stuff was conventions. And
really?
Yeah, and conventions you can only get so far, unfortunately, unless you got people coming from like all around the world. Unless you were in a comic book shop or in conventions, it was really hard to distribute your comic. Now with online, digital, Kickstarters, you know what I mean? You're going worldwide, and I think I think there's such a boost, and I think the next step is translation. Getting us into areas where, like Japan or China or you know, Indonesia. I think that's the next step real comic indies need to look at, and I guarantee that's going to blow open the markets big time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty smart, man. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. There's an untapped market that could be there, you know, to look into, and vice versa, bring stuff over as well. And
yeah,
there's indie creators all over the world that can be part of this new movement, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, you know, there's the discussion, is the comic industry failing? So to some degree, yes, it is, and I don't think, though, that's the whole story, you know, because there are so many comics out there that are not American comics. There's the whole European comic industry, you know, and if people haven't had a chance, I highly recommend grabbing some stuff out of there. They're not superhero comics. They're very different comics. You know, and same thing with manga. I know Matt, or excuse me, Mike. You're a huge fan of you know, anime and manga like I am, and you know, so you know, there's that. And, you know, then of course we have the different stuff. You know, we have a lot of Portuguese and Spanish people creating manga too. So it's, you know, there's so much going on. You know, that's.
Not just manga. Let's not forget about Judge Frickin' Dredd.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I consider that the European comics. You know, they're the European comics, and there's some great stuff coming out of Europe. And I think a lot of people are narrow-minded on their view of comics. A lot of people have this view that, comics is just the American superheroes. No, there is a whole plethora of more comics out there than people realize.
European comics have always been really interesting. Like, people always say, like, talk about Vertigo, but they don't always necessarily remember that it was all because of the British invasion in the early days of Vertigo that was so good.
Think about it, you know, in the late 80s and early 90s, before the collapse in, you know, the 90s, how many writers came over, you know, that were the British invasion? You know, Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, you know what I mean? Grant Morrison. Yeah. These guys, Mark Millar, you know, these guys came over and they really started revolutionizing a lot of. They brought their storytelling, fantastic European storytelling, into the American market, and that's what I'm thinking. I think the American market needs. We need like the storytellers from Japan, or what we need, like a second wave of people, not just from the
new ideas.
Yeah, completely, 100%. You know, not just you know, a manga bringing in manga. I'm talking about grabbing these creators and getting IP with them, and you know what I mean. And the same thing with I know they try to do it with Image because there's some I think like Mirka Ondeloff. She's an Italian. I don't know if she's Italian or. I know she's Eastern European or something like that. I know they've gotten some people, but there's a bunch of other people that I think really could really revolutionize the comic industry completely if we have that new wave come in.
Well, it's interesting. It makes me think of like the stuff that's happening with Marvel in manga right now, or like there's Japanese creators making Marvel manga. It's like, oh, that's just so bizarre. Like, what is this new generation? And it's like, but
you also have. Yeah, you also have, there was the DC title, Batman and the Justice League, that was a DC manga title, and actually that was really good. I enjoyed, that series, because it wasn't just from the eyes. What they basically did was they took a character, a Japanese character, and they put it in the event, in with the issues with the Justice League. So it was kind of like his adventure with the Justice League. So it really kind of, you know what I mean? Even though it was titled Batman and the Justice League, it was kind of more this different character who was working with the Justice League. And that's what's needed. I think you could have those titles and there's completely room for them. And I think, with DC doing webtoons, I don't have an issue with it. The problem is how they're going to adapt the stuff. Are they going to do new IP? Are they going to do? Are they basically just going to do existing IP? Or for instance, are they just basically going to do a Justice League title and it's still drawn the same way? I don't think that's going to work.
It'd be interesting is if one day, because movie industry, of course, they're always looking they're always looking for the next source of where they're going to make their adaptations. And for a while, it's been mainstream comics, but I wonder, it'd be interesting to see at a point if they start reaching out to indie comics and we start seeing indie comic movies.
I think that's the only way indie comics are going to survive, because it has. I mean, most people know the only way your comic gets really big and blown up is merchandising. You could do. I mean, I'm not saying that every title. Let's say you do your title, because we know there's comics that do $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. But a lot of times you still need to have merchandising to go with that title, and stuff like that, So I think really, like, a movie of, let's say somebody decides to do a movie of Downcast. I mean, that would be excellent. Or, or Rags, which, would be killer. I would be awesome. So, it's just that I think we need to. I think the whole medium is not. And I just think the whole entertainment medium is in a shift right now, and I think they're trying to get a foot somewhere. And I think the problem is it's hard to. You know what I mean? It's been so status quo in Hollywood for so long, and in the comic industry, with everything being shaken up right now, I think the problem is. People are struggling. The companies themselves, like DC, Marvel, Disney, whoever, they're struggling to get a foothold wherever and they're kind of just throwing out whatever they think works and hoping it sticks. You know what I mean? Because you have, for instance, like I mean, we all know that most of the DC movies have been kind of hit or miss. But the last Suicide Squad just came out, and I don't know if you guys saw that yet. Oh man, that was great. I loved it.
It's so good, right?
Yeah, it was great. Like, and I look at it from the David Ayers version. I'm like, why did the David Ayers version flop, but yet the James Gunn version succeeded? And it came down to this: he understands comic books and the comic book medium. Yeah. So I think, because he's proven it with, Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that, and he's proved it with some of his, because he actually had a couple indie superhero films before he even got big into into Hollywood.
There's actually a little bit more to it than that.
What do you mean?
David Ayers' work was kind of cut off in the middle.
Well, yeah.
Another person came on board and changed everything. We didn't actually get David Ayers' version of it. We got some kind of half version with somebody else's version tacked onto it. It was like what they did with Justice League.
Well, and that.
Awesome. I see what you did there.
And that's the thing is, I think a lot of times with movies, I've always come back to studios need to stop sticking their nose into things. And it's the same thing, I think, with the comic industry. DC and Marvel need to let the creators create their stuff. You know what I mean? Stop it with the, I get you want to have these events. People are tired of the events. I just want Spider-Man to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him going on sometimes I don't always want him going on these big world adventures, and he's trying to take over something not being Peter Parker.
Homecoming was such a good movie. It didn't have to be this big thing.
Yeah. And Homecoming also had the nice fact of, it's still linked Tony Stark. They did it. And then when, I think, I'm trying to think here. Was that what was the second one? The last one?
That was the UK one, I think, right? Where they go to right? They were in France or something.
Okay.
Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Far From Home. They go to overseas on a trip.
Right, and I thought for me, that was just okay, it wasn't needed. I think they could have done everything with the character back in, with New York, with Mysterio back in New York and stuff like that.
Huh.
I think to me, there's times you want one big thing I liked about I will say Black Panther. The one thing I really liked about Black Panther, it was all focused in Wakanda. And I think you got to see the Wakanda, all the universe and what it was about. And then I think sometimes these get too large of stories and stuff like that. Sometimes you just kind of want them to scale back, and I think that's really what they wanted. I think they should do, kind of scale back on a lot of these things, and focus on your Avengers is supposed to be your big your world thing, but your titles of Tony with Iron Man and stuff like that. Make it more about his business, him trying to survive his business in New York City or wherever you want to put him. I think we've gotten too large with stuff. Let's bring it back. Bring it back to what made those titles big for the most part. You know what I mean?
That's
just my opinion. I don't get me wrong. I love world building and I love large things. Sometimes though, it's just that we're too focused on these large events, and they have to say and they redo certain events that don't need to be redone. Civil War. So.
Oh, you mean the comic doing Civil War 2?
Yeah. Basically, them redoing, and I'm waiting for them to redo Secret Wars redo Secret Invasion #2, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Because that's just the way it is,
Everything's in cycles, man. Time is a wheel of time.
I kind of wonder, Batman. To me, why do we need 16 different Batman titles? We should have 2 Batman titles. Batman being Batman. What is he? The world's greatest detective. Why is he not being the detective?
And then it's Neostar says, fill a need. Manga indies comics have been filling the need where the mainstream industry lacks.
Yep, I agree with that 100%.
That's interesting, man. That's very interesting. This is also a fun comment here. Hard to establish the amount of destruction that modern action movies have if you keep it in one city. Fair enough. That's fair. That's fair. If you can why destroy one city when you can destroy 2 cities?
or if you destroy a whole world, i.e., Endgame, or not Endgame, but
one game,
Infinity Wars. Yeah. When you can destroy multiple planets,
I prefer Infinity War over Endgame, personally.
Maybe I'm biased in this one, as I have this giant universe to tell. But I think the bigger the better.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's there. Go ahead.
I could see starting out in one place, but eventually it's got to expand. You've got to grow beyond where you were before with each one. If you're staying in one place, it becomes stagnant.
if you look at the Fast and the Furious movies, how they started off and where they are now, like it's one of the biggest franchises in the whole world.
But okay, so here's my other argument against that. When you keep building so large, eventually get too large, and then you're starting to you're going to start filling in holes, or you might have issues with continuity and stuff like that. So I think there is, yes, I agree with that 100%. I mean, we plan on doing it in the Sporkman universe that there's going to eventually be a title called Sporkman Saves the World. You know,
nice.
So matter of fact, actually, one of the villains is going to be introduced in Celerity, this comic. You know, so yeah, there is. I think there's a place for large buildings, in my opinion. 100%, I agree with that. The problem is, I think what we need to do is you should do things in cycles in storytelling. Sometimes you have to have a big title that goes big. Then other times you need to bring it back down, and you're like, okay, well, I need to refocus my character, make sure he's doing the right thing, and then, you know what I mean?
I agree, because I agree it needs to be balanced, because just like in a story, there needs to be ups and downs for the moments, the big moments to really hit hard. They need to have the softer, slower moments to balance them out.
Yeah.
You know.
I would like to quote Metallica here. Moving back instead of forward seems to be absurd.
They would say that.
Yeah, they would. I don't see it really moving back, because you're kind of, you're basically what you're doing is there's sometimes with the hero's journey, when you're done, let's say you get to a point where Sporkman saves the universe or the world. Okay, well, what's the next step? Well, then you got to get into the multiverse and all that stuff. Sometimes you just kind of want to bring it back and say, okay, well, maybe after saving the world, let's see what Sporkman's doing or a certain character is doing in his everyday stuff again after saving the world. You know, that's just me. That's just the way I am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. You got it, man.
I can appreciate a slow burn to it, where you build things up slowly. But I don't think that a story should ever sit around in the same place.
Totally, yes, that's true. It should give us at least something new and something different, right? Vary things up. Like, I don't know, has anyone seen the new CGI Lupin, the third movie?
No.
It's very good. In this, they basically take the stakes to the next level, where it is a world-ending event. In the first time in the whole series, there's these really big stakes, but it works really well. It is actually a really great movie, and so, but at the same time, I don't mind if the next one they go back to doing a regular adventure. You know, I don't necessarily need it to be at that level every time. So
I'm not.
I see both of your point.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. You know. And the thing is, you can still have, there's still everyday adventures, that you can still have, the character can have. You don't always have to have every story. This is kind of why in our thing, we're kind of just doing these arcs. I mean, here's the thing. We go from our first issue, he's at our main character's at a convention. And then and then the next issue, he's in Japan fighting mechs, with Shogun Z. And then the next one, he's fighting pirates. Right. I mean, so I mean,
we have to do convention 2 at some point.
Yeah,
a parody of Civil War 2.
I think, I would love to see him then you have him going to Sporkman Goes to Hollywood. That's kind of gonna be the kind of step down.
Oh my god, I love the Sporkman Goes to Hollywood's fun, because that's you can have a guy playing a Sporkman actor in the back, and then they have a Spider-Man pointing moment, me.
It's going to pull a lot from Scooby-Doo. Matter of fact, actually, this is where we're going to actually have in Sporkman in Sporkman on the High Seas. There's a scene where he walks into a bar, and on the TV there's going to be a film of Jack Irons, and you're going to see posters of Jack Irons. When he goes to Hollywood, you're going to actually see the filming of Jack Irons the movie, along with Rags the movie. And stuff like that, and that's how we're going to kind of work the indie characters that we.
Clever, Dean.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of what we wanted to do is kind of do homages to I mean, what does Scooby-Doo do? Every time, they go to Hollywood, or they go to all these different things, and
dress up, right?
Yeah, they got gotta have fun. He's got to save, So
maybe a scene where a bunch of people running out of doorways in a hallway and popping out the doors,
Yep. We actually want to do where they're chasing the villain across the different sets of all the different sets and stuff like that. So we.
Oh, you mean like the end of Shocker, when they were going through they were going through the different TV shows and movies?
Shocker.
I don't remember.
Yeah, what is Shocker?
I'm not talking to horror fans, apparently.
Nah.
You're talking about Wes Craven's Shocker. It's been such a long time since I've seen that. I'd have to rewatch that. It's been a while. It wasn't up there.
There's this part in the end where they're fighting and they jump into the television and they start going through the sets of all these different shows.
You know what's my reference for that? Since I guess it's not my generation, but my reference for that is the Fairly Odd Parents episode the special where they jump through the TV episodes. Yeah. So I guess that tells. I don't know if that tells me anything.
Anyway, what you were saying reminded me of that, like that kind of thing with the going through each thing.
Really? Yeah, I could totally see that, man. Yeah, that is kind of that fun idea. I do love that that clever little homage. That is always fun to see stuff like that.
Yeah, and then there's different stuff that we're gonna have, like Sporkman versus the Vampire. It's just we're just doing fun stuff. Homages. Not everything. I think not everything needs to be small. Not everything needs to be big. That's just my opinion. And I completely agree with you. There are a lot of times you gotta, depending on what your story is, bigger is a lot of times better. Especially when you're dealing with a lot of times with superheroes. That's the direction you need to go in. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And I think it also depends on the superhero. I mean, if you look at the icon I have on my thing, that's actually that's the Natsumi's new version of the Super Mega Sporktron. That's the Mark II. So she's gonna have her own. We're growing our universe at the same time. There are times we want to do small stuff.
Yeah, dude, I think that's always fun. Yeah, you got to bring a variety of different things to the table.
But anyhow, I hogged up enough time here from you guys. I'm gonna.
Fun talking to you, dude.
Yep, I got to get back to work here, so I appreciate you guys having me on. And
do you want to plug your stuff real quick before you jump out?
Yeah, so guys, you can follow us at Sporkman Studios. Also, you can pick up the Conventions comic. We're currently right now at wikidpublishing.net/Sporkman. Hopefully within the next 2-3 weeks or so, we'll have the Sporkman Goes to Japan ash cans, or not ash cans, but floppies up there for ordering. And also, you guys, if you guys want to order T-shirts, those can be ordered off of our website, getspork.com. So we actually have T-shirts and keychains there where people can do that. So if you guys, like I said, our every handle we are at for social media is Sporkman Studios. So you can follow us Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and that's where we're at.
Awesome, man. So, well, yes, please go check that out, everyone, and thanks again for joining us, man. It was great talking to you.
Appreciate it, and you too, Omen. And also, let me know when you guys get your thing out, Omen. I'd like to get you guys on our channel too. That way we can do the promotion of your comic too for your Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I always like to follow up with other, especially with the Wikid people. I always like, and Matt and Mike both know this. I like to promote our people within. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Great.
So
yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care. Have a great day. Talk to you later, man. And then there were 3. Yo.
That makes me want to do that Three Amigos thing.
The 3 Amigos? What do you mean?
Oh
Where they tap their shoulders and their hips and.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we'll have to practice that one. See if we can get the coordination down on that. But yeah, dude. I know you're a horror guy, so you have AMC Plus. So are you going in and watching a lot of the Shudder stuff right in there?
Oh yeah, I've mostly been using it to watch a lot of the documentaries and stuff.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Like that in Search of Darkness
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
documentary has been my favorite so far. They
One
go
looked
in
really
and they
good.
talk. Yeah, they go in and they talk about 80s horror, and there's a lot of 80s horror. I mean, that was a lot of stuff
That was
went straight to
a
video.
lot of I haven't seen a lot of it myself, but I know a lot about the era and whatnot. So a lot of people who maybe are more familiar with modern horror, like go back and watch some of the '80s stuff. It's really gory stuff. Like that was like the staple of that time period. It was a lot of shock value too, like stuff that you don't really necessarily see as much these days. Am I right with
Well,
that?
horror at that.
Would you agree with that? Was that meant?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I was just gonna say, in my opinion, what was really going on is that there was a lot more exploration as to what they could do.
Mm.
It's like right now, I kind of feel, in my opinion, we're closer to what people probably felt for maybe the 60s, like mid 60s, late 60s, where horror movies weren't necessarily kind of like, oh, like they were basically like, oh, okay, that's cool, well, whatever. And then when more of the slasher came out, then people were like, oh, whoa, what's this? And then when slasher kind of was falling away, then they started booming everywhere else, because that's what they used to do. If they did everything else, then slasher came in, made it more grounded in certain ways with some elements of supernatural or you could say fuckery in some way. But
Mm.
That was one thing
around
about
that
the
time
80s
when
too.
slasher was dying out, like once when probably I think Friday the 13th part 5 or something like that, they were kind of really like, people were like, okay, it's whatever. So like The Thing comes out, then Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, that kind of stuff started coming out. Way more
Mm-hmm.
supernatural things. And the gory aspect too, I think, was just more of an exploration of like, there's better cameras, better effects, what can we do that makes this really like
I think you're
body
right.
horror, or like not even body horror, but the scenery looked either satanic, dark,
You know,
demonic,
you know why I think
and
that is,
it
man?
works really well because they updated the craft, so to speak.
Yeah, but I also feel like they like you said, they updated the crap. They honed it to to a science where practical effects became really good. And of course, you obviously you see modern day you get CGI and stuff, but like the practical effects that those guys created were amazing. Like I think
Right? There's
that
something to
stuff
be
is
said
incredible.
about that. Today we have CGI that we can do all sorts of stuff with, but like movies like The Thing, okay, that thing transformed every time it turned into something else. And
I
that was
personally
all
love on how
practical
The
effects.
Thing is
Damn.
one of the best movies people bring up for practical effects. And here's the best example of that too. Look at The Thing 2011 or whatever it was, the one that's supposed to be a prequel. It had mainly CGI, and then look on how well The Thing from 1982 or whatever, John Carpenter's The Thing versus the prequel Thing. It's newer. It should be better. No, everybody fucking hates it. I
Although
mean,
I will
that's the
Real
sad
quick,
reality. I hear it's still pretty good. I haven't
I do want to
watched it.
say, kind of a fun, like we talked about Suicide Squad earlier. I don't know if you know this, Michael, but do you remember the scene where King Shark, and this is not a spoiler, I don't think, but he rips the dude in half?
yeah.
That was all practical effects
Yeah,
with just minor
nice. I
touch up.
didn't know
Yeah,
that.
they put like very minor touch up on it, but it was like they had a guy and he really did that and had like all this stuff inside to make it look all that it looked. And it's like yeah, like I love it when the masters, like when people nowadays like learn from those old masters and still use those techniques. Like that's why I think The Walking Dead for me is my favorite show on TV, because it's got Greg Nicotero and he learned from George Romero on Creepshow, and he so The Walking Dead has these amazing practical effects that just look so cool. You know what I mean? I love practical effects. I
Right.
think
Well,
it's
not only that, wasn't Greg Nicomero also on? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the other guy. Shit, I can't think of his name right now. But he was in
H.R. Giger.
No, H.R. Giger is part of like
Savani?
Alien and all that. I'm talking about the guy who played the biker guy in. Huh?
You're talking about Savani, I think.
Possibly. He was
Tom
in.
Savani.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he learned with wasn't it Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Was one of his first movies to actually start doing horror, and he actually fell in love with the prop work.
Right. I heard him talk about that in most cases when Savani first started out, he learned most of what he knows one from being in war, so he had a little background in what things actually looked like, but he had one phone call with a guy. It was like, how do you do this? And the guy just kind of broke it out to him, and then Savani was just brilliant and coming up with ways of doing stuff.
Yeah, that's what's so cool. Is like I think the fact that they were so limited forced them to be really creative with the practical effects, and it makes them look so amazing because they had to find creative solutions and things for things that and when you forcing your brain to do that, like oftentimes you come up with the best solutions, honestly.
Right, and you end up with happy accidents too, like
yeah.
I don't know if you remember Kevin Bacon's death in Friday the 13th.
No.
Yes.
He had they shoved the arrow through his throat.
Oh, geez.
And when the blood starts to come out, it was initially just supposed to kind of flow out. But I guess the hose broke on the pump.
Oh no!
And the guy grabbed it immediately and started blowing in there.
Oh wow!
And that's where you get the little kind of squirt out from the blood, and it ended up actually looking better.
Oh, that's wild! Yeah, like you said, a happy accident. You didn't even realize it's gonna look better like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
funny, dude.
There's always going to be horrible movies. It's just like everything else. There's going to be horrible books, horrible art, horrible music, horrible movies.
Wow! All right, don't be such a downer.
Hey, no, it's just how it is. But from those bad things, you can learn to do great things.
True.
And not only that, I mean, I'm trying to think of a really bad horror movie right now. One that I personally liked that was actually really bad. I think it's called The Pulse. And I watched it and I was like, that is a really fucking creative idea, because it's also a meta commentary on how if we're not careful about what we do, people will just let themselves go to technology.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I watched that, I was probably like 13, 14. 16 years later, yeah, that seems to be what's going on,
Yeah.
But even everybody said that movie was crap. They're like, horrible effects, horrible this. And I was like, yeah, I could see it, but its storyline didn't work the best. But if you could actually connect its dots, it was pretty decent, and I liked its meta commentary. And I kind of feel that that's what a lot of horror movies are too, is that they're meta commentary in some form of way. Like
not always, but
it can be, yeah.
Not necessarily what Ridley Scott was talking about, but a lot of H.R. Giger's Alien concepts and his artwork for it was highly sexually suggestive. And people figured that out and actually asked him, and he was like, actually, yeah, it was.
You got it.
So there's a lot of sexual innuendos like all throughout the movie, but you just don't think about it. Your brain's turned off to it because it's not what the focus.
Because you're not seeing that necessarily up front.
That's why I love Scream.
I'd like to point
it
out
works
that
as a perfect commentary.
I don't think that the sexuality is definitely in there in the Xenomorph for sure. I don't.
When it birds out,
think,
right?
I don't think that sexuality was more of a tool that they used to make it that much more creepy. Like,
Yes.
as opposed to being about a sexual expression, it was about making it a kind of sexual thing.
Uncomfortable,
Adds that whole
right?
other level of creepiness to it.
It's like a subconscious effort to make you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yes, it's to induce that I wouldn't say anxiety, but those kind of emotions kind of thing, and that's why even with like the way that the face hugger reacts, that's kind of on how it is. It's not meant to be like such in your face, it's just more made to be like, hey, wait a minute.
No, who's playing? Speaking of aliens, though, who's playing Fire Team right now?
Not me. If it ain't on console, I can't play it.
It is on console, man. It's a new Left 4 Dead style alien game that just came out.
Oh man, that sounds really nice.
It's
I have
pretty
not
dope.
played a good Left 4
Cody's
Dead
been
style
talking about
game
it
in a
all week,
while.
dude. Cody's been talking about how awesome it is, dude.
I've honestly been playing a lot of Final Fantasy. I'm getting a lot of my RPG fix out.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. But
I'm still kicking it with a PS3.
This guy.
Hey, I mean, there were still some good ass games on PS3.
I just wanted, before we move on real quick, I just want to say Sporkman in the chat says George Romero, you stated most of his horror movies are commentaries on political issues. Yeah, I feel like
that is true.
That's his thing. True. Like that's why he didn't like The Walking Dead, because he kind of thought it was like a soap opera with zombies, which is actually why I do like it. But
I mean, for me, I really like the idea of Walking Dead as more of not as a commentary, but as a true what if, like a true what if scenario.
True, man. I do love
what would happen to civilization and the people who lived in that scenario.
Because it's what Robert Kirkman intended to when he set out to write it. Is we always see the zombie apocalypse, and either it gets cured or the end of the story happens. But what happens after, And so Walking Dead is what happens after, when life goes on and they have to continue living in that world. And so that's why I love they bring everything to their conclusion,
I love movies like The Walking Dead or like The Shape of Water, where you take a monster, you put it in a scenario with a bunch of humans, and it turns out that the humans are the really fucked up ones.
I mean, that's really nice, but I mean, when you kind of look at it, a lot of movies are doing that. And it's kind of like, yeah, I get it. Humans suck, man. But there's also a lot of great things about us, too. So please stop. Like, I mean, that's kind of why I really like the movie Noah. Going on a little bit of a tangent, like kind of like what people have been doing with horror movies, kind of changing the way that they are, like putting monsters in a more of a humanizing kind of thing. I've seen a lot of, you could say, religious movies doing that same thing with those stories, and it's actually been kind of pretty cool. It like they actually put Noah in like a human state where like he kind of goes a little mad for certain things. And not only that, like you see on how like you could in a Moses one, you see in how like it could be interpreted as this guy's crazy as hell. He's crazy, but damn, does he say some true ass words.
Neoster says, do you mean Night of the Living Dead? I'm not sure.
There's Night of the Living Dead, there's Dawn of the Living Dead, Day of the Living Dead.
I don't think there's one called Dawn of the Living Dead, is there?
There's Dawn of the Dead. It's
Dawn of the Dead. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's one where they go to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There are two different series. There's Night of the Living Dead, and then it switches to
Day of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living
Dead. It changes to Dawn of the Dead and then Day of the Dead, because the two people who created Night of the Living Dead, George Romero and his partner, split ways.
No way.
And his partner came up with the other one, which is Day of the Living Dead Part 1 and 2 or something like that. No, I've watched some stuff about it. Because one involves like an unknown virus, and the other one involves this virus or chemical called troxin or something like that.
Dawn of the Living. I got the list here. He goes, "You're right." So Day of the Dead is one. You're right. So it goes Dawn of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead came out the same year as that one. Then we got Land of the Dead, Survival of the Dead.
It's my turn.
No, God, it goes on. Diary of the Dead. God, there's so many movies. Night of the Living Dead. I saw Survival Dead. That was a weird one. I saw that one in theaters.
That one was really weird. I didn't see it in theaters. I actually saw a bootleg of it.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But yeah, there's also
I got a thought for you. I got a thought for you about The Walking Dead.
okay.
I don't think that The Walking Dead would work if it didn't have the body horror.
That's interesting. Why do you say that?
I think that you have you if there wasn't the visceral horror from the zombies, if there wasn't the flesh being torn apart, the limbs ripping off, if there wasn't all of that, there wouldn't be that real serious threat. And it would take away some of the real horror element in it.
I agree.
Makes it good, I think.
I think
could
there
see
have
that.
been moments in the show where like the human bad guys have been bad enough, like the governor or Negan, where they are scary enough on their own. Yeah, I love Negan, man. But yeah, I think you're right. I do think especially in the beginning, and kind of tying the bigger arcs together, the zombies really do serve as the kind of the everyday horror in the show, in the comic.
I'm never gonna forget that zombie that was in the junkyard that had all the spikes and shit going everywhere. You remember that when he's all trying to fight him off and he can't touch him and stuff?
Yeah. It's like it's got, and the thing is like you can't kill it because it's got like a metal thing like welded on its head on top of to protect its brain, and so it is covered in spikes as well, and so it's like, how do you fucking kill something like that? Yeah, they're really creative with their stuff on there, man. I will give them that. Like the well walker from season 2. Where it's this big old bloated yucky walker. Oh,
right.
Yeah, man, so good. So many good moments. I do get a lot of people prefer the comic and stuff, so I can definitely understand that. But I do feel like the visuals of the show are really on point with that.
I honestly think, and granted, this is speaking from somebody who has not read them, but I think that without the color, like I said, without that real, without that body horror, that real visual aspect of it, I don't think it would be as good, and I don't think that you could.
Well, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. It's funny you mentioned that. You should watch it and see, because you can probably find it online, but the first season Blu-ray has a black and white version of the first episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can kind of see what that might look like in a visual form, movie format or whatever, TV show. So that's kind of fun. Yeah.
That might be worth checking out, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that? I thought that was pretty cool. That's actually what was it? Didn't Snyder Cut get re-released in black and white, or am I misremembering that?
I'm not sure why. I don't.
Yeah, that was odd.
That was Justice Gray thing. I don't. I love the Snyder Cut.
I do too, dude. I got a pre-order
releasing it in black and white. Why?
Nah. Well, yeah, really.
Maybe for the artsy people. You know how it is.
The whole thing. I mean, the movie was in 4:3, all right. I think that's the aspect ratio. Which is so weird.
It is weird. There's not, isn't it 16:9 normally?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's usually they take advantage of that widescreen format, but he wanted to do a different. I guess when they filmed it, they used these cameras that shot it in 4:3, and so if they put it in 16:9, it would actually be cutting off the top and bottom of the movie, and so he wanted it to showing like at a square, so you'd be seeing exactly what he wanted you to see.
Actually, I have heard filmmakers talk about, and I think this might be why he did it, but how you can get a certain amount of definition in that smaller screen black and white that you can't quite get in color.
That's interesting.
Like that's why Schindler's List was done in black and white instead of in color.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I never thought about that, man. Very interesting.
I mean, I can kind of see it. I mean, we were using black and white technology for at least 100 years, before we even moved to color for just it's funny alone.
But it's funny how like now we've gone to color and now we want to go back sometimes. We're like, but we kind of miss it still every now and then,
Well, of course, there's always that's why I say artsy fartsy, because I mean that's kind of mainly the people who like to do that.
Sorry about I don't mean to interrupt you there, but I was gonna say, speaking of artsy fartsy, I do want to before we wrap up on the podcast, I do want to talk about this a little bit. I saw Alan Moore's new movie on Thursday in theaters. It was in theaters for one day, It's coming to streaming later in October, I think, for like a day again or something. But it was actually really good. It was pretty hilarious and
What
pretty
was it?
wild. It was called The Show. It was not based on any of his comic books. It's a brand new. He wrote it and worked with the director very closely, and so it's the only movie that has a stamp of approval on it. And he's even in it. He's in it. He has a role in it as well.
That's actually saying something. I've heard
yeah.
Alan Moore just loathes every movie that's
Oh,
ever
yeah.
been made about his stuff.
Yeah, he hates Hollywood, dude. Yeah, like ever since the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen came out, he's just detested every adaptation they've ever made of his stuff. Even Watchmen, which by Zack Snyder, which I thought was a pretty good adaptation.
I read Watchmen recently for the first time. And
oh, really? Nice.
If you're talking about the what was it, the director's cut or the ultimate cut, I think it
exactly.
was. If you're talking about that version,
hell yeah,
you're basically saying scene for scene of most of the stuff in Watchmen.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I love that director's cut, or if you even go to the ultimate cut to get the Black Freighter stuff. Like, it is a really good adapt. It's long as hell, but it's really good.
Yeah, I was.
That's what he does, dude.
After watching.
Like, I think that's what you just need to do with Zack Snyder. Just don't limit him. You give him as much time and do what he does. He's gonna come out with something that's gonna be pretty awesome and unique.
Right.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as games, you know. A delayed game will eventually be good. A rushed movie or a game is forever bad. Forever. Especially movies, because you can't change that with an update.
Yeah, really. Unless you're George Lucas.
Come back out again and see this movie. We've updated it.
George Lucas got lucky because
yeah, really.
his movies were so good that people were like, "Nah, you got to update those graphics." It's the same thing with Star Trek. They were so good, you had to update the graphics to make it look good for the next generation.
But it's just weird,
you know. Of course, it's weird. Like, I mean, seeing young Anakin inside of a fucking 70s movie, come on, man. Or not 70s, 80s. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But still, you know, that's a 20-year difference, and you can clearly see the difference.
And you're like, where's the other dude who was in that movie? I thought there was another guy who played that character.
Yeah, wasn't it like the old version of Anakin?
Yeah, it used to be the old. Yeah, exactly. It used to be I think
I'd
the guy
rather
who played
have that.
Mask Off Darth Vader, maybe. I'm assuming. I don't know.
They changed that?
Yeah,
they changed it to young Anakin.
Hayden Christensen is the spirit ghost at the end. It's bizarre, right?
Wow, they at the end with the Force ghosts.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about.
But see, here's my question: Why didn't they change Obi-Wan to Ewan McGregor or Ewan McGregor? Why didn't they change him? And Yoda. They kept it the puppet, not the CGI version.
Well, shit. Let's not. We're getting down a rabbit hole. Everything. We'll just swap everything out. And then,
no. Once when we did Anakin Skywalker, we saw how much it was, and we said no.
Like, I don't like the Greedo, like making Greedo shoot first. I think that's some BS right there.
Right?
What, you think Han Solo shot first?
Right, let them
Hell
know.
Yeah, Han Solo shot first. Oh yeah. He ain't waiting around to get shot.
It all depends on how you look at Han Solo. Do you see him as somebody who does things first, or do you see him as more of a defender type of thing, where it's kind of like he's a reluctant hero?
I see him as a wild card smuggler guy. So a guy who survived that long on the universe, he's going to shoot first.
I see him as the reluctant hero.
What were you saying, Omen?
I see him as a little bit more strategic than that. He seems to do what is necessary in any situation. There doesn't seem to be a line where he's like, well, I got to do this to get out of it, but I'm against that, so I'm not going to do that. He doesn't have that.
Exactly. He'll only do things if he's absolutely forced to, in a sense.
Well, except for...
That's a reluctant hero. Because everything he does is more self-serving, but it does tend to be more of the
that's why I think
good side.
I think that's why why the moment when he actually does come back in the movies and help is why it's so powerful, because he is the guy who cuts and runs when things get tough, kind of in a sense.
Right.
Exactly. That's why
Even if he comes
I
back
can see
later.
him playing the reluctant hero, but at the same time, like both of you said, he's the street smart guy. He's the one that's more of no, I'm gonna go for myself, man, kind of thing, and that's what makes it really work as a reluctant hero.
True. Yeah, that's
it's
very true.
not
Man.
necessarily vigilante, but it's
it's a good
boundary.
foil for Luke, who's the kind of your typical hero. Is like he's go getter. He's gonna get it done. He has no qualms.
No, yeah, Luke
doubt.
is your total wide-eyed hero.
Mm-hmm.
He's totally that. When he first sees the lightsaber, he's like, "Ooh, what's this?" kind of thing. Where like when Han Solo saw that, he's like, "That's
dumb."
Fuck that.
I think that totally fits with Luke. One of the reasons I think Lucas put Luke's character out in the middle of the desert as a water farmer it was key in that. He desperately wanted to go out and see the universe, something besides freaking sand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
At least he puts it in a better way than Anakin puts it.
Not only as
at least he doesn't just go, "I don't like sand."
But it's not only that it's a desert and he's the sand. He's a moisture farmer in the middle of a desert. Where the freaking hell are you finding moisture in the middle of a desert? Like, that sounds like a terrible job.
Hey, it's underwater.
I'm sure underground maybe, perhaps. But at any rate, it can't be very fun.
Oh, I bet not, man.
We got Star Trek fans here. You guys Star Trek fans?
Not as much. Not as much from you, I'll be honest.
Yes. Next Generation, the original series.
I've never seen the
original
series.
I haven't seen too much of Deep Space Nine and Voyager to say yes or no to those.
What about the background? You know the one with Spock's brother?
Old school films I have not watched.
Yeah.
I've watched this next generation films and the first remake movies. I haven't watched any of the old original series. I didn't even know he had a brother.
Oh yeah, there's this scene at the beginning of the movie where this guy has just got this little hand drill, and he's like in the middle of this dust storm in the middle of the desert trying to get water out of the ground. That's always what I think of when I hear moisture farmer.
Oh, that's pretty funny, dude.
I mean, here's a movie that'll make fun of kind of both in a sense. Spaceballs. I mean, that's a great parody movie that I used to watch fucking almost.
I wasn't allowed to watch Spaceballs.
Oh,
Spaceballs. That's not right.
I
wasn't allowed to watch things that were.
I mean, any movie from Mel Brooks, it should always be allowed. Same thing with Monty Python. But I used to always watch that. And one of my favorite scenes is when they're combing the desert. And when I say combing, I literally mean combing the desert.
We ain't found shit.
Yeah.
Like they're using like a hair comb?
Yeah, they're using an actual
but they're
comb.
giant. They're an actual like comb that you would see like barbers and stuff using. And then what I find a little messed up is that the black guy is using a pick. And it's a giant one. And then they're like, "Hey, you found something?" And that's where he goes, pulls up his thing. He's like, "Man, I ain't found shit."
Oh, no.
I mean, it's a great scene overall. A little outdated, but I mean, still works.
Still okay,
perfectly.
yeah. Still holds up all right. Yeah, not too bad.
I would say if you were to judge it for its time.
Right, exactly. Like how they put like disclaimers on Disney Plus now. This is an outdated view of things.
Yeah. I guess they would probably have to do that.
Mm-hmm. Better than censoring it,
True.
Or like not putting it up and stuff. Like, there's 5 episodes of South Park you cannot get on HBO Max because they're banned.
Well, you can watch them on their website for free. So
no, you can't. Not those ones.
Well, I know they don't have the Muhammad one, the one where
those are the ones I'm talking about. There's like 4 episodes of Muhammad in it that are banned.
Yeah, a few early ones, and then the ones where they were kind of making fun of it with Family Guy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you can't get the 201 episode.
Yep, 200 and 201, and then the Super Best Friends are the earlier ones you were mentioning.
Yeah, and the reasons for that is because they would probably get fucking sued.
Well, they got not even that. It's not
hardcore.
Sued. They got a fatwa. They were gonna put a fatwa on them, and it's like, God dang it! Why can't we have nice things? God dang it!
Because people have feelings. No, I mean, it's just the human way. This is why I love the old ways of the internet. Anonymity was king. Just learn to just grow a sack and you'll be fine.
I like Red Foreman's list of emotions. He has pissed and drinking.
Nice. Yeah, I agree.
Red Foreman would not do so well in these days and age.
I don't think so. No.
Different time.
Yeah, I don't even know if they probably even play that shit now, just because of the way Red Foreman is.
They do. That one's always on reruns and stuff, you know.
Oh, okay. I could see it.
Yeah. That one actually holds up really well. All these years
I still
later.
watch it.
It's hilarious, dude.
I used to watch it so much with my friends that
man.
it's like I can't watch it anymore. I can't look at it.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, once when I've been exposed to something so much, it's just
watch
so
Frasier, dude.
I know the episode so well that it's like, dude, I can't.
Go watch some
no
Frasier
more,
Crane,
please.
Bro.
Huh?
See,
Get some Frasier Crane in your life, bro.
I've seen that 70 show and The Big Bang Theory and Roseanne. I've seen all those shows like 20 times each.
What about
and I still
The
love
Office?
them.
What about The
What
Office?
about what?
Man? The Office?
Oh, I just can't get into it.
What?
Same here.
How many
Same
episodes
here.
have you tried watching, man?
Well, see, my wife was really into it, and it was. I basically felt like I was forced to sit through a show I didn't like.
How much did you watch of it? Is what I'm saying.
I'm gonna say, I probably tried to watch a good 20 episodes.
So did you get at least in the second season? By that point, I think
sure
the first
season I was watching.
I think the first season's pretty short. So because I know the first season and the first, maybe even the second season, they're pretty rough. But like season 3 and beyond start to get their stride and they get really good.
Yeah,
so you have to kind of get through the first couple
season we were watching.
Yeah, those first ones can be rough for some people, but yeah, I love that show, man. That's one, like you said, I'll go back to and I'll watch that one. Or for me, like, you know, you mentioned those shows that you go back to and watch. For me, it's like The Office and 30 Rock and those kind of things.
30 Rock was a good one. I like that one.
That was very funny. Yeah,
I never really got into actual sitcoms. I just didn't really watch them.
Dude,
yeah,
sitcoms for me are the best
like
lunch and dinner food show. Like when I was back in college, I would just go get me a big ass burrito at the freaking restaurant, go put on an episode of 30 Rock and just have a good time. And I would just love it because it's like, it's quick, it's easy. You don't have to think about a lot of stuff.
I mean, there are sitcoms that I do like, you know, but I don't know. It's just not for me, you know. There's just certain things that I'm not going to watch this. I refuse to watch this. Like reality shows, I don't watch anything reality.
I'm with you there at least. I don't really watch.
I can't watch even the Discovery shows, the History Channel shows. I can't watch any of those. To me, it's just.
So
I don't mind those ones.
I just
don't real in any sense of way.
I don't like Bachelor. I don't like The Bachelor or like Love Island. Those are the ones that kind of piss me off. I don't, you know.
Yeah, I mean, anything like that's fucking retarded. Like people, like the whole real world situation. Like I remember watching them as a kid, and I was like, why would people do that?
My buddy has to, but he watches that stuff with his wife. And I'm like, oh man, why are you doing
that? My brother used to watch that shit all the time. Like he was one of those huge Jersey Shore fans. I was like, oh god. Oh man! My mom, she really likes the Real Housewives, Survivor, a few other ones.
Survivor!
Then,
oh my god, I can't believe Survivor's still on.
My fiance's mom, she really likes like the home stuff, and this and that. I just sit there and watch them when I'm with them. If I can't do anything else, I'm like, God, dude, I could feel my brain cells dying from this. I could feel myself becoming more dumb. Like, Jesus Christ. A lot of times when I'm like forced to do that, I'll just go on YouTube and watch something.
Yeah. What were you saying though, Omen? You said you felt like that way every time you do what?
Watch a commercial.
Yeah, see, I DVR everything. I don't do commercials.
A little bit of me is becoming more dumb and dying a little bit inside.
Yeah,
you know what's funny though? What's funny is that I can remember certain commercials from like way back in the day, or if I've seen it a few times, years later when they replay it, I'm like, hey, I remember that commercial.
Do you remember Mantico Water Slides, dude?
I remember Bobby Lee, the comedian. He had the guy from Modern Family. That's actually a sitcom I could actually withstand. I don't know why, but he was the fat guy, one of the gay guys who's the fat character in Modern Family, and he was in a commercial with Bobby Lee where they robbed a bank and they didn't have the right shit for it, or like they needed a phone and Bobby Lee had a phone, but his phone had minutes or something like that, and they got arrested because of it. And they were talking about it, and Bobby Lee is like, yeah, do you remember that commercial? And they're like, the guy sat there for a moment. He's like, holy fucking. He's like, yeah, I actually do remember that commercial. Wow, I'm surprised you remember that. He's like, yeah, that's the commercial me and you worked in. And then, like, I went on to Mad TV, and then you go on to ABC and become this famous star. And then I have a drug problem and have to leave stand-up comedy for a long time. And, like, fuck, man. And I sat there thinking about it, and I was like, oh my God, I remember that commercial too. Holy shit. I was probably like 12 or 13 when I watched that commercial. Like, wow.
Do you remember? I thought you were kind of, but like, I was like, you were talking about like local commercials. Like, do you remember like Manteca Water Slides, dude? I just remember that shit the other day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
yeah,
that
I remember
dude.
a lot of those commercials. I even remember when Frosty's had a commercial for a bit.
Really?
Frosty's over in Antioch, yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's funny.
Even Delta Bowl, or not Delta Bowl, is it Delta Bowl? The one over in Antioch, right back of the mall, and Kaiser Permanente. There,
oh yeah, I think
some of my family works and kind of owns it, and they used to play commercials back in the day, and I still remember those. Shit, man, funny. I remember even the J.G. Wentworth fucking commercials. You know, the ones where they're like on the bus, the ones where they're in the opera house, the ones where they're in the apartment complexes, and they're yelling across like the alleyway or something like that to each other, and then they're all singing the fucking the motto basically. I need cash now, like blah blah blah. Call J.G. Wentworth, and like I can vividly remember these, but like.
No,
I can't remember it because there's already too much shit to remember to begin with.
Somebody's ad is permanently etched in your brain. Doesn't that just irk you a little bit?
It irks me a little bit, but if it's a good commercial, okay, that's fine. Like the J.G. Wentworth, god damn it, I hate them, but they're nostalgically funny. That's the funny thing. Even oh man, I'm trying to think of some of these old commercials from like way back in the day. Like, do you remember the PSAs that they used to play on?
Oh yeah,
like for like crack, and then meth, and I think even heroin sometimes, even weed sometimes. Like the deflated girl and everything.
Yeah.
Oh man, like some of those are hilariously funny, but at the same time, some of them are like disturbingly creepy to where you remember it. Like I remember it was this viral ad campaign that an ice cream company did where this ice cream guy was taking scoops of himself from his brain and everything and just eating himself over and over. And I still remember that because it was mainly an online ad, but at the same time, you would see it sometimes here and there on like Adult Swim. So there's a few things with that. And even Adult Swim things from back when I was a kid, like their old announcer, where instead of it being Tom or just the blackboard where they didn't say anything, It used to be like this lifeguard just being like, all right, all kids out of the pool. It's time for adult swim. Yeah, you heard me. Get it out of the pool.
Right. I remember that.
Like, I remember that kind of stuff, you know, and you could say it's a little dumb, but it's nostalgic for me, you know.
But yeah,
I wouldn't say like it was important, but like it kind of helped fuel me for like knowing on how dumb things are now, and on how even back then they were still pretty dumb. We just didn't realize it.
Hey man, everything you're looking back with wiser eyes. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess you could say that's part of growing up, but I think at the same time,
that's why you never
a
go
lot
back.
Of things
Dude,
just got lazy.
I never go back to like things that I loved as a kid or whatever. I'm like, I'm just gonna remember it being awesome. I don't need to go back and because maybe it's not
there
awesome.
are some things you should never go back to. Just have those fond memories of it, because as soon as you go back to it, you're gonna be like,
"Damn, this was like
hell did I like this for?" Like,
that's why I love
remember
remasters, dude. Sorry, go ahead.
I remember going back to like Goosebumps. You know?
Oh shit!
And then, I watched a few episodes of that. I was like, "Damn, this is dumb as hell." And then I remember watching an old Nickelodeon show. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Me and my friend were talking about it. I was like, fuck it. Like, dude, put it on. Let's watch it. So we found it on YouTube and we watched one of the episodes. It still kind of holds up if you were a kid. As an adult, it's like, nah, this don't work. Except for the pool one, because that one's still a little weird. It's a little weird still, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily like freak you out as if you were like anywhere from 5 to 10.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. We'll have to see. I know Fear Street is out right now. People have been talking about Fear Street on Netflix. That's based on a book series by R.L. Stine, of course, who did Goosebumps as well. So people should check that out. That
was good. Fear Street 94.
Is it like a time travel thing or what the hell?
No, it's not a time travel thing. It's a story told in 3 parts. It takes place in 3 different time periods.
Strangely, they go backwards. Though. You think they would go back? It would start in like the past and then go to the present.
It's like one of those stories that shows you the scenario that happens at the end and then goes back.
I've never seen anything like that, though. You know what I mean? Like if you look at like something classic like It, or something like you got the before where they're kids and then you got them as adults to finish the story. So it's interesting to me, at least. It's interesting that we're getting the final story and then we're going back to see what happened before. It's just a different take.
I think the closest I've ever been to an end showing the end actually showing the begin, like showing you the end, but then going back to the beginning. I think the closest I've ever been for something like that is
Memento?
Berserk.
Memento.
Or Memento. What about Memento? Have you seen that one, Matt?
Memento.
I have not seen Memento.
You should watch it, dude. That's a good ass movie.
I've seen some things about it, and I think that would be the closest
movies.
You can get.
That movie is so good.
Or
because Memento, you start at the end, and it's a guy who has schizophrenia, and so you're experiencing these. Each scene progressively takes you further to the beginning of the movie, and so just like someone who has amnesia or not schizophrenia. I'm sorry, I said schizophrenia. He has amnesia where you can't remember things, and so just like someone who has amnesia, you are learning what the story was like he is, and so it's this incredible experience.
Yeah. Like I said, I know what the movie's about. I've seen some things about it. Like I know it's a Chris Nolan movie. I think it's one of his first.
One of his best.
So I'm already really interested in watching it because I know he does like some really wacky, thought out movies. So this is one of his best. That's more along my style.
It's crazy too because like there's a special feature supposedly on the DVD where you can watch the movie in chronological order, and so like if you wanted to go back after watching it, you can actually watch it in order and see what that would look like supposedly.
Huh? It would probably ruin it.
Yeah, probably. To be honest with you, probably. That's why I've never done it.
Because movies like that are made like that for a reason. Like a lot of people bitched about Berserk being made the way it was, to where
I love that. Dude.
They should have shown the Golden Age arc first, and a lot of people are like, "Nah, no. There was a specific reason he wanted to show you that first." And I do agree with their reasoning for that, because I do feel that that is a sound hypothesis. Too bad we won't know the real story for it unless somebody
We'll
has
see.
translated
see.
interview I could read.
Uh,
But or a translation in video or something like that. I've done that a few times. But they feel, and I agree with this. So this will be more of my personal opinion from now on. I'll just say it as if it's my opinion because I agree with them. But the reason why is because they wanted to show you in how dark Guts got before showing you what happened to him that made him the way he was at that point, and what made him stop being the way he was. In a sense, that's why it goes the Dark Sword or the Black Swordsman, the Golden Age, then the Lost Child, because that sequence builds up for the fourth arc and art onwards, basically on why he is the way he is and the reasoning that came about for it. You know, so that's why I agree with why he did a time skip to start with, and then show you his past, and then go back to the present. You know.
But have you read much? Have you ever gotten into Berserk, Michael?
I haven't.
Maybe you're a horror fan. You should definitely get into that at some point. You would love that manga.
I would say it's not necessarily super horror oriented, but
are you fucking kidding me, bro? Are you kidding me right now, bro?
Let's put it this way: the more I've read it, the more I see it as dark fantasy.
But I just personally think dark fantasy is a fun way to say horror with some fantasy elements in it.
I'm gonna have to agree with Michael there.
I could see that. I could see that.
Dark fantasy.
I could see that.
Like I was just reading like Tokyo Ghoul is considered dark fantasy, but I've always considered that a horror to me.
Yeah, to me, I see that more as horror oriented rather than dark fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then again, most anime is considered fantasy, so.
It really depends on the person who's consuming the media. Some people are just turned off by the word horror, and so if you say dark fantasy, they're a little bit more welcoming.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like, in all honesty, like most people won't see it this way. I consider the movie Labyrinth a dark fantasy. A lot of people will laugh at me and say, "What the fuck are you thinking?" But when you look at it from the eyes of what you would with horror movies, it's a dark fantasy. It really is, you know. The fucking guy kidnaps a fucking baby, plans to sacrifice it or eat it or something like that, and the lady trying to, he's gonna do something evil with it, you know. And like the place that she's around, the main character, she's like in this dark, decrepit place, you know. And then she goes to like this light place, blah blah blah, and then she goes right back to the dark decrepitcy. You know, to me, that sounds more like dark fantasy than anything, but it's not horror oriented. But if you put it, that's why I can actually see what you guys are saying with that. No matter what, it has an element of horror.
A little bit there with Labyrinth, especially with that the masked ball scene, and where she's in the junkyard. David Bowie. Yeah,
look at how David Bowie acts throughout the whole thing too. You know, he sounds more like he's in a dark fantasy than he is in a real fantasy. You know, it's not like he's in Willow. It sounds like he's in a fucking dark place, you know? I mean, Willow has some dark elements too, so could you consider that dark fantasy?
Willow, dark fantasy? No, it's not quite dark enough.
That's what but that's kind of the levels of it, you know, where you can consider Lord of the Rings like true fantasy in a sense, where it shows both light and dark, but at the same time, there's
and then I guess Game
more
of Thrones is
emphasis on things looking better and more realistic. So it's more of a true fantasy landscape. Whereas with Willow, it's more of a light fantasy in a sense, or a good fantasy. And then you got the Labyrinth movie, dark fantasy. You got Berserk, dark fantasy. Then you got what's a manga? Records of the Lotus Star, Records of the Lotus War, or something like that. That's a 80s anime, and it was a fantasy anime. You know, I don't consider it dark fantasy. It was actually it was pretty well regular fantasy. You know, good fantasy.
But yeah, I guess we are running out of time here. We should probably start wrapping up here. But this has been fun talking to you guys about horror movies, and you know, I'm always down to talk about that. That's like my favorite genre right there. I'll plug this. A lot of good horror comics coming out this October. DC versus Vampires looks cool. I'm pulling my list up here. You guys have any comics that you're looking forward to? Any horror comics coming out this October or anything like that?
Not right now.
Nothing on your end, man. What about you, Michael?
I know that Omen comics seem to be getting progressively more and more horror related.
So that one might be a good to pick up there for Halloween there.
Right.
Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any others that I was looking forward to. But of course, horror movies. Plenty of horror movies to watch. Horror comics by Antarctic Press. I've been really enjoying their stuff. Some really cool. Each one's like essentially each 1 or 2 issues is like a standalone story that they're doing.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. Hell Cop coming out this in October. Pretty dope. They're doing a 3D special. So if you're into that, like if you want to see a comic that would look like with 3D glasses, they're even providing you the glasses. So that's kind of fun. Got that on pre-order. And let's see anything else. Like I said, mentioned horror comics. I would check horror comics out. They have a 2-parter called Vampire Ninja Ono, and it's got art by Weldon. So if you're familiar with like the Common America books, you'll be very familiar with his art style. So it's kind of cool. And I just want to throw some plugs out there. Batman Reptilian's pretty dope right now. Yeah. But what do you guys got going on? Any plans coming up for this weekend?
I'm doing a lot of catching up on shows.
Nice.
I've been really getting into podcasts lately, and checking out lots of indie podcasts.
Okay, yeah, really, yeah. Well, I was gonna say if you ever need some suggestions, man, I got plenty. I'm the guy. I'm the podcast guy, so I got plenty to suggest. Although mine usually tend to be more comedy podcasts, so I'm not sure what kind of podcasts have you been listening to?
Like horror, true crime, sci-fi,
oh, nice.
comics, that kind of stuff.
You're like my sister. She loves true crime podcasts, man.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, man. That seems like it'd be right up your alley.
It is.
Nice, dude. Well, yeah, I'm gonna be catching up. Did you watch the new Walking Dead yet?
I haven't. No.
Man. What are you doing? You're 2 weeks behind now.
I'm really blowing it with that. I guess. I got so.
It's last season, man.
I got way too much going on right now.
It's the final season, man. The final season. They're doing it in 3 parts.
Right, but I have AMC Plus. I can watch it at any time.
But the beauty of AMC Plus is this year we get the episodes every week, 1 week early. So if you stay on top of it, you can get it even before. Like I'm gonna watch episode 3 tomorrow before it even airs on TV. So not bragging or anything, just saying. I can't. I love Walking Dead stuff. I want someone to talk about it. But all right, man. What about you, Matt? You got anything going on, man?
Shit.
Sounds like a big no.
Well, we all do that occasionally, but
yeah. Is that all, man? Is that really all you're gonna do? Just to, shit. All right. I don't know, Matt. Are you there, man? What happened? I think we lost him, man. That was really weird. Bad timing. Very bad timing.
I like how he said it too. It was all shit.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna take him out and back in. Can you hear us, man? I guess not. All right. Well, maybe he'll jump in a second. But yeah, I guess last but not least is do some plugs and let everyone know where people can find us online, so they can check out all our stuff. Why don't you go ahead first and tell us where everyone can find your stuff there?
Okay. We're on Twitter at Comics Omen and at Revelation Comic. And our podcast, Omen Revelation Comics, is at Omen Revelation. You can find us on Patreon at Patreon/Omen Comics. And we're also on Facebook at Omen Comics and Revelation Comics.
Very nice. Thank you for that. And for us, of course, you can follow us on Wikid Publishing on Twitter. That's where we're most active. And we do have an Instagram we post every now and then, usually page previews and things like that. But then, of course, the YouTube channel that you're watching this on. If you have not subscribed already, we always appreciate a new subscriber. It really helps out a lot. And every like and everything really, even just sharing the video out there really helps. So we appreciate all that, guys. And if you've been hanging out with us in the chat, we really appreciate that too. That is always really fun. We always get to see the cool guys. Some of our mainstay crew here with Neo Star and Mrs. H in the chat here. We really appreciate the support from everyone. And of course, again, if you're watching on the replays, we also appreciate that. So just want to get that out there. Let's say thanks to everyone. And I guess Matt's not coming back.
Right.
He dropped into the void. Hopefully he's doing fine. Hopefully he didn't fall into some sort of multiversal rift and cause a Nexus event, because you and I both know that that's never good. So
right, that's not gonna be a good thing.
No, definitely not. Well, awesome, guys. Well, thanks again. We will see you guys on a future episode, probably in, I think it's obviously it's in 2 weeks from now. So we'll see you then, guys. Take care, everyone. Bye.